Hello, everyone, and welcome to the U Talk Show, where we are asking the lovely question of who the hell are these blinkers anyway? Well, I'm Kyle, and this is Horst, and well, I figured that you should get to know us a little bit, at least know who we are. So, yeah, Horst, who are you?
Right now, I'm mainly very tired.
Hello, very tired. My name's Kyle.
Hi Kyle, I'm Dad.
Hi, Dad.
The I'm an engineering and law student. I have been doing engineering and law adjacent things for over 15 years.
Okay. Can you tell me a
I
little
came out of
what's
this from IT.
Okay. What do you do in IT that kind of got you into engineering and law?
Oh, good grief, no. The law
Yeah.
was
Too
the
painful
law
an
was sort of a
experience.
hobby. The law was sort of a hobby, right?
Okay.
Because I've also been in my personal life a photographer since I could hold a camera, basically. And a lot of the legal questions surrounding photography have been matters of interpretation, shall we say, and trying to integrate what the law has said and what the courts have decided in the past. Um, it's sort of required that I get good. As a side note, it also means that I am a lot better at reading the license agreements with pieces of software. You open your fresh packet of Microsoft Office. There's this piece of paper inside that says, "By opening this box, you have agreed to sell your soul to Satan on our behalf, and we receive one corn chip for it."
What's funny is like these days they don't have like
Boxes
yeah, they don't have
or
boxes,
pieces
pieces
of
of paper.
paper.
It's just
Just by downloading, you agree that you're ours now.
yeah.
Um, as for the
See,
engineering
we're
stuff,
old school. We're not like these Zoomers,
we're literally
bloody
using Zoom
Zoomers.
right now. As for the engineering, I've always been into gadgets, um, wanting to know how things work, how to build them better.
Okay.
Past a certain point, the only move that you can make is to finish screwing around with what you can teach yourself and start trying to learn from other people.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
And
Um,
Kyle, I know I've scrubbed up your resume recently, so I have a little bit on this. But where the hell did you end up in politics?
we'll get to me in a bit. Wanna really, okay, for lack of a better term, the only word that came to mind just then is dissect you, but like, that's not quite where I was trying
Please,
to go with
please
that.
vivisect me until I am dead.
All right, so okay, tell me about your engineering. What kind of engineering is it?
Well, at the moment, TAFE is providing a course in engineering technical. Um, as far as I can tell, that course is mainly designed for people who've already been in trades, like electricians, fitters, plumbers, and the like, who are hoping to professionally develop themselves. Maybe if, for instance, they wanted to move into management positions or strike out on their own, they can develop through that some of the broader engineering skills that would allow them to sort of be
Ah,
cross-disciplinary.
so for people who are like they have a lot of experience already,
Mm,
but they need a formal qualification and a little bit extra.
yeah, and I'm
Okay.
I'm
See,
I'm
I
looking
could
at using
use
that as a
something like that
pathway into
actually.
uni.
Okay, nice.
I'm sort of going for a pathway into uni, so eventually I will be a
But you're
proper
also doing
engineering
law, though.
student.
Are you doing law at
Yes.
university?
No, no, that's currently Cert 4
Okay.
um,
So a
through
TAFE?
TAFE.
Okay. Good old TAFE.
But again, a lot of this is targeted at people who already have a basic understanding.
Okay.
Um,
How long does that
I'm
take
really
to
looking
do
forward to
either
the
of
contract
those?
law section.
Oh,
Okay,
nice. How long do those take? How long are these courses that you're doing
well,
generally?
the Cert 4 is allegedly going to take 18 months. I'm hoping I can get it a little quicker than that.
I mean, knowing you,
Um,
you'll get it in 6 months.
no, no, no. We're already 5 months in. So I would have to really, really get scrambling to pull that off.
Hmm. Okay, so you're
Um,
taking it. Well, you studied two things at once, so that's fair. But
yes,
knowing you, if you
yes.
were only focusing on that, you'd get it done in 6 months flat.
I'd love that. I'd love to have the time for that. I could
Yeah.
probably do it in 12 months. The engineering stuff is 12 months, and then I'm looking at going for an advanced diploma.
In
So,
engineering.
yes,
Okay.
uh, in
What?
ECE, so electronic and communications engineering.
Okay. Interesting. So
And then I'm
we're
hoping to
talking
do
like
mechatronics at uni.
mechatronics.
Yes,
Please elaborate on what mechatronics is.
mechatronics is the unholy fusion of mechanical, electronic, and computer engineering. And the main application for a
So
mechatronics
robots.
degree, as far as I can tell, is to go on like the BattleBots TV shows. No, no, really, really, you look at this in the industrial setting. All of these machines that weld together cars, hopefully we'll have those in Australia again one day,
Yes.
have to be designed by mechatronics engineers. It's cross-disciplinary. You have to understand all of the forces.
So you're going for a bit of a like a really high level jack of all trades.
Ouch. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
ouch.
Right now I'm a low-level jack of all trades, and I'm looking to upskill into being a high-level jack of all trades.
Wow. Okay, that's good. Like, okay, for me, I've always liked like it kind of goes back to video games, but I've always liked,
Mm.
balanced characters. So to me, that really like that's very appealing. And really quickly, just the law side of things.
The which?
The law, like you're studying law, what kind of law exactly? Is it just general law?
It's just general. This course that I'm doing is specifically designed to produce paralegals,
Okay,
who are the bitches in a law office who run around researching things. And that's
okay.
sort of the skill set that I bring to this program as well. I run around researching things. I have information ready.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I must admit, like that's been a lifesaver for me because I do research, but I hate it. Mostly not
mm,
not because of the reading part. The reading part's completely fine. It is very much the finding the information. I absolutely despise that because you have to sift through all the bullshit. And I
yeah,
really, yeah, I just don't like that at
yeah.
all.
It's okay. It's okay. Didn't you hear that Daddy Zuckerberg wants us all to use Chat GPT to do our research in the
No,
future?
no, no. Just
For legal reasons, that was a shit post. No,
yeah. All
looking at the
right.
emergence
With
of artificial intelligences in computing is absolutely hilarious,
mm,
but it's
I
the
think it's
same as
all quite
arithmetic,
overhyped.
right? It's
I
the
think
same as arithmetic. If you have a calculator, sure, you can get the answer to anything. But if you don't understand what you're asking, you'll never know if you fat fingered it and got something completely wrong.
yeah. See, I think it's all pretty well overhyped, AI.
Mm.
But anyway, we've actually sort of run over time on me essentially interviewing you.
Yeah,
So why don't you vivisect me? I guess I'll
excellent.
provide.
I'll grab the scalpels.
Oh no.
Pretty sure I got my cert one in medicine.
And
Oh,
I have a
okay.
senior first aid certificate. That is probably
Hey,
expired
same
by
hat.
now. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
mine's expired.
If it's called senior first aid, it's definitely expired because I don't teach that as a module anymore.
Oh
This is
wow, okay.
sadness. Sadness.
Yeah.
I enjoyed flexing on people by being a senior.
All
Um,
right. So
so
yeah,
you've
first
come from a
question.
game design background.
Yes. Okay. So
How does
I
that
came.
translate to this?
Okay, my entire learning, developmental, and working career has been incredibly random. I basically have this conglomeration of skills I built up from hands-on activities, but zero actual formal qualifications in the end because I didn't finish most of the courses and things that I did.
Oofed.
I started in accounting but didn't finish it because I got the basics, and then because it was batshit boring and I really didn't like it, I ended up not finishing it because I just couldn't get through it. It was just too boring. Number crunching is not my thing. I mean, I do like it's kind of funny because I liked number crunching when it was in video games programming. But just like simple calculations, number crunching for hours on end, I can't do.
Mm.
But if you want me to find you the formula for something, like how do we find the formula to get this specific thing? I can do that. No problem. And that's what I learned in video games. I did network coding, which is one of
Mhm.
the two hardest forms of coding. The other is AI coding, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, because that is just as like good
Yep.
AI in a game is just as difficult as network coding. And network, we have a saying in the industry, and that is networking's a bitch, and you do not court her. Unfortunately, I wanted to make multiplayer games, so I absolutely courted that bitch, and I regretted it. Well, I didn't. I I hated it. I hated it at times, but I don't regret doing it because now I'm
Okay.
actually pretty good at it.
So you go to network coding, but again,
Yeah.
where does that lead? Like again, I've seen your
Well,
resume. I remember scrubbing it up a little bit, and I know that you were running your own studio for a while to moderate
yes.
success. So
Yeah,
how do
I
you
we had
end
a lot
up
of
there?
technical success. So here's how I translated. We had a lot of technical success. I produced a networking video game, a basic version of it, one level, networked multiplayer, 5v5 on a map where you're in Viking longboats throwing spears and rocks at each other, and it was quite a lot of fun. We held an event for it.
Mhm.
Um, and we went on to publish a couple of games. Unfortunately, not that one because I decided the networking code in that was not good enough, and I needed to redo it all over again for our next networking game. It really wasn't good enough. Like it had a lot of flaws. I needed to, and it wasn't one of those things where I could just fix it. It's easier just to restart it. It was one of those horrible messes.
Yeah, and
Um,
I've seen at least one of the folks you worked with at that studio answering questions on Quora, and I'm perfectly happy to say about that. It sounds like your studio employed a few characters.
yeah, it was. I mean, look. Okay, so there was this one guy who was kind of acting as our artist, even though he's more of a coder, but he was the only one that could do any art. But
Ouch.
he openly admitted he was lazy, and so that's why things weren't getting done as much on his end. But he did get a few art and animation pieces here and there. Then the other guy, he would do things, but he rarely ever tested what he did. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so we had things like it's like I've done it, but he hasn't tested it. And see, I test things to death. I spend about three-quarters of my time testing my code just to try and break it in any way that I can think of. So my code is always solid, but always takes quite a while. Um,
the problem is
but
when the end users break your code in ways that you couldn't have possibly thought of. That's the bit that I
no,
enjoy
no,
debugging. It's just like, why? Why?
that's not too bad. I mean, the problem because usually, at least in the engines that I used, there was like an error message. It'd give you an
Hmm.
idea of why it broke.
Yeah, of course.
The problem was when it didn't work properly, but it didn't technically break. Like the code ran, it just didn't do what you wanted it to do. And in networking code, that is horrifying because
Task failed successfully.
yes, it was terrible. It was the absolute worst. Okay, there was this one thing. I spent 6 weeks, which was like a third of the time that I worked on this one thing alone. Okay, because we for 4.5 months I made that network, we made that networks game. I did about
Hmm.
70% of the work on it myself. And 6 weeks of that, one third of my work was the automated ID algorithm to try and automatically give a essentially imagine like a line, like a virtual pipe
Yeah.
to stream the code through the network. Its own packet ID on all ends. That like because if it wasn't hard coded, which it needed to not be hard coded,
Yeah, of
it
course.
started messing up in ways that just it didn't make any sense. Um, and then at the same time, I needed to like there were like 6 workarounds for the problems that I found.
Hmm.
But eventually I got that thing done. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs, just yes, just screaming. I finally got it done. But anyway, so after like that, I took like a 2 month break from coding. But then when we went on to our next game project, it was supposed to be a break project. It was kind of a revamp of an old game that we did, just making it better. It's supposed to take 2 months, but I was supposed to just get back into things slowly. It ended up taking 8 months because I was the only one doing any real work. Um, and then after that, in about 2 months, I created a split screen multiplayer game. for which the that artist I was telling you about earlier did do a little bit of art at the beginning, but then it dropped off.
Hmm.
Essentially, at the beginning of each project, they do a decent amount of work, and then it would just drop off from there. That was their problems. Except there was this
Yeah.
one girl, tiny little Asian girl. She was just wonderful. I cannot praise her enough. Um, she was doing like 2 full-time tape courses while working with me, and she was a machine. She did the level art for Viking Conquest, which was the network game that we put out.
Yeah.
Um, and then after that, she couldn't work with us anymore because 2 full-time courses was already too much. And then working with me on top. But recently I did, or recently, I mean 2 years ago, I got in touch with her to try and revamp that game that we revamped into like a console and PC version. And she gave me some art for that, which I still haven't put in the coding for entirely. I'm almost there, but I've had a lot that I've been trying to do because as basically I wasn't like as the game development kind of like that kind of faded out, and what faded
Yeah.
in was politics because I was just starting to learn about politics. At first through US Prism, which was in hindsight both good and bad because they're less subtle and more obvious, but they're also more crazy and more identitarian. And
More crazy.
yes, the US is crazy. Like just generally over there, politics is crazier. Like as in they have crazier notions. But mostly I was sort of learning like when I watched it, it was I was mostly focusing on policy type stuff. So I was watching a lot of Bernie Sanders speeches and a lot of like discussion on his policy rather than just the vague notions that you get. I didn't really watch a lot of TV. It was all on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then from there I started watching. Even before that, I started watching a little bit of stuff on Australian politics, but I couldn't find much.
Hmm.
So I started watching and reading stuff, and and so from there, I ended up. I was trying to do something productive with my time, so I ended up working in charity fundraising.
Yep, that makes
Um,
sense.
and I kind of at some point, I can't remember exactly when it was, but I kind of gave up on the video games development.
Hmm.
Um, and I was doing charity fundraising. Then I ran for local council. I did not win, unfortunately, but I did learn a lot from that. Did learn, what the biggest thing that I learned is that you can't just do it alone.
No.
It's in the same way that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a team to win a seat for a
Yes.
candidate. And I since then haven't run for local council, although I did have the opportunity with I could have with a political party, but I decided not to for various reasons. And instead, I was wanting to focus more on the state election,
Yeah.
but then couldn't really get that together in time. Mostly because, well, you need a lot of financing to run a campaign, and I just didn't really have the financing there or enough volunteers to make it work. I think I calculated it that if I had 6,500 and 20 volunteers, I could possibly win a seat. But that was like the absolute minimum to actually have a real chance of winning.
Yeah.
And that was at the state level. So you need about triple that. You need about 18,000, to 20,000 at the federal level, which is no small amount. So so along the thing is along all of this, I also started like I worked on something called the media integration proposal, which I'm going to turn into the documentary Manipulated, which I've talked about on this show a fair bit. I've also noticed we've gone
Yeah.
way over time.
Yeah. I wanted
Correct.
to vivisect you, and instead you've just expounded and expounded.
I know. This just he asked the question, and it just leads to so much. But basically, I ended up doing a lot of events management. But the thing is,
Hmm.
with all of this, it was very much offhand. I did offhand study into economic history. I did offhand events management for different groups and stuff. Offhand video media production. I've been kind of like a freelancer essentially. I've been a freelancer who mostly does everything for free. So very much on the freelancer there. Um,
Absolutely, yes.
yeah, yeah. So I've done a lot of essentially freelance work in the sort of charitable space and political space, and the gaming
Hmm.
space to do with events management, um, with my so with essentially getting a background in systems design, events management and coordination, and with a an offhand studying of economic history, political media, and public policy.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just cut everything out and just do just that part because it actually just summarizes it well.
No, I think we keep it. I think we keep it.
We're probably at
I
25
guess
minutes
I'm
by
gonna.
now, though.
That's okay. I'm gonna ask a question to wrap it up then.
Okay.
It's like I've already sort of sorted this on my end with the engineering side of things. I want to see systems and make them better. But
Mm,
just briefly,
mm.
why are you here? What has led you to this point? Why are we two guys on YouTube who are exploring life's mysteries and politics?
Life's mysteries. Is that what we're doing? Um,
I mean, so much of life is political these days.
yeah, true. It's a bit of a shame actually that that's a whole conversation for another time. I guess look, why I'm here is because I give a shit. I care. I care about the direction of society, and
Mm.
I think there are a few people with skills in certain areas that are applicable to to certain roles that need to be done in society. Um, there are a few people that are suited to governing. There are a few people that are suited to something like what we're doing here.
Mm.
Um, I think part of what I do right here is I tend to ask a lot of questions. Um, and a lot of people, like you'll see a lot of podcasts started, and they don't ask a hell of a lot of questions. They're more just like, they're just spitting facts, bro. Um, like it's
Oh.
yeah, it's just like it's you part of the problem is that we can't identify the problem because we're not asking the right questions.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do with this. That's why I'm here doing this show. And well, that's why I care about politics is because I care about society. I care about people. Um, can't really say why. I just care. That's
Almost brings a tear to my eye. I
oh
want to. I know. I want to craft the world that I want to live in, where what is it? With liberty and justice for all. But without solid understandings of liberty and justice and our collective responsibilities, all we do is make a differently broken way of having
Yeah, you
things.
know what?
So,
Maybe we should do an episodes on that. What is liberty? What is justice? Seriously, I think we should do an episodes on that because those are questions that we need to actually ask. What does it mean to have liberty? What does it mean to have justice?
yep,
So stick around for those episodes, and I guess we'll
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 see you all
see you
later.
there. Catch you later.
Ciao.